We're going to be talking about John. First, we're going to be talking about the places in John. It said John's story begins as John the Baptist ministry near Bethany, east of the Jordan. And you'll find that in John chapter 1, verse 18. John chapter 1, verse 28. Jesus also began his ministry taking to some of the men who were later became his 12 disciples. Jesus' ministry in Galilee began with a visit to a wedding in Cana, so Cana, in John chapter 2, verse 1. Then he went to Capernaum, so Capernaum, which became his new home, in John chapter 2, verse 12. He journeyed to Jerusalem for the special festival, in John chapter 2, verse 13. And there he met with Nicodemus, a religious leader, in John chapter 3, verse 1. When Jesus left Galilee, he traveled through Samaria and ministered to the Samaritans, in John chapter 4, verse 1. Jesus did miracles in Galilee in John chapter 4, verse 46, and in Judea and Jerusalem in John chapter 5, verse 1. We follow him as he fed 5,000 near Bethsaida, so Bethsaida, beside the Sea of Galilee, the Sea of the Tiberias. And you'll find that in John chapter 6, verse 1. Walked on water to his frightened disciples in John chapter 6, verse 16. Preached through Galilee in John chapter 7, verse 1. Returned to Jerusalem in John chapter 7, verse 2. Preached beyond the Jordan in Perea in John chapter 10, verse 40. Raised Lazarus from the dead in Bethany in John chapter 11, verse 1. And finally entered Jerusalem for the last time to celebrate the Passover with his disciples, and gave them the key teaching about what was to come and how they should act. His last hour before his crucifixion was spent in the city, and you find that in John 13, verse 1, in a grove, Grove of olive tree, the garden of the Gethsemane, in John 18, verse 1, and finally in various buildings in Jerusalem during his trial, in John 18:12, he would be crucified, but he would rise again as he has promised.
Timeline of John. Herod the Great begins to rule 37 BC. Jesus is born 6/5 BC. Escape to Egypt 5 quarters BC. Herod the Great dies 04 BC. Return to Nazareth for 3rds BC. Judea becomes a Roman province AD 6. Tiberius Caesar becomes Emperor 14. Pontius Pilate appointed Governor 26. Jesus begins his ministry 26/27. Jesus and Nicodemus 27. Jesus chooses 12 disciples 28. Jesus feeds 5,000 to 9. Jesus is crucified, rises again, and ascends 30.